our guests have to leave early, so I'm just going to ask our first speaker to say a few words. Mr. Amir Epstein, my good friend from Tafsik organization, and Tafsik means stop.
Yeah, it means enough.
No, okay.
Enough. So I'd like to thank you, of course, Abashir, for inviting Tafsik to speak at this important event. My name is Amir Epstein. I mentioned I'm the executive director of the Tafsik organization, a Jewish civil rights group from Toronto. I want to take us all back to time to 600 BC, to the ancient land of Persia, where the beginning principles of human rights were boldly inscribed in the Cyrus cylinder. In an era when much of the world was chaotic and violent, the Persians dared to present the world with the idea that individual rights matter, a revolutionary concept that was meant to transcend borders and cultures. Yet today, I sit before you here in Parliament. I cannot celebrate human rights in Canada. The very essence of human rights was intended for all people, for every human being, regardless of their background, and appears to have been lost in the noise of hate, discrimination, and hate from parts of our collective society. As a proud member of the Jewish community, I speak from a place of personal experience. I've witnessed firsthand how those who claim to be progressive advocates for equity and human rights often reveal themselves to be the very antithesis of that ideal. How can we call ourselves champions of human rights while excluding certain cultures, ethnicities, religions, or nationalities from the protection of those rights that are meant to provide? These so-called human rights warriors are nothing but frauds. How can anyone in the same breath profess belief in human rights while simultaneously justifying the heinous act of raping Jewish children as a legitimate form of resistance? This is not not just a moral failing. It is a profound depravity that defies all reason and common sense. These individuals who advocate for radical ideologies believe in performing gender surgeries on children grappling with gender dysphoria, taking away children's right to protection and trading it with delusional parents who seek to appear woke. They label Hindu Indians as colonizers and dismiss their rich heritage while excusing the burning of temples across our great nation. They erroneously blame today's Christian generation for the transgressions of the past, all while celebrating the very terrorists who sow discord and destruction around the globe. Canada was once a shining beacon of hope, prosperity, and equality for all. Today, however, our nation systemically endorses the erasure of Jewish history, beliefs, and fundamental right to exist. University professors not only condone the rise of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, they don the keffiyeh, which is a symbol of so-called resistance, while openly endorsing the slaughter of Israeli children and the brutalization of innocent civilians. They indoctrinate our children, taking them to rallies where they are forced to wear shirts branding them as colonizers. They teach our toddlers to hate, to fear, and to vilify. In this climate of hostility, synagogues are firebombed, Jewish schools are targeted, businesses are vandalized, and Jewish children are assaulted. Billboards featuring the image of Adolf Hitler are paraded in the neighborhoods as a grotesque statement of solidarity with the Palestinian people. The massacre of 1,200 innocent Israeli civilians on October 7th is either celebrated or completely denied, echoing the dark shadows of the Holocaust denial. Human rights are no longer afforded to everyone. Our country has failed its promise. Our Prime Minister pledged to our peaceful Yazidi community that their family members trapped in refugee tents in Mosul and facing violence across the Middle East would be reunited with them here. Yet that promise remains unfulfilled nearly a decade later. Why? Meanwhile, our borders have been thrown open to millions of extremists, those who advocate for the murder of innocent LGBTQ plus individuals, who stone women for seeking liberation, who kill Jews for any reason they can court, and who slaughter countless Christians while harboring contempt for all Canadians' democratic values. The Islamic regime's operatives infiltrate our streets, taking the lives of Iranian Canadians, while Qatari money infiltrates our universities, funding civil unrest and sowing division. The Muslim Brotherhood pours resources into our community, financing imams who preach hatred against Jews, Christians, and the very foundations of democracy. So today, I do not celebrate human rights. Instead, I mourn the tragic loss of human rights in our country in Canada. I yearn for the return, for the restoration of rights that belong to all peaceful Canadian civilians, So let us reclaim the true spirit of human rights, for it is not just a privilege, it is a sacred duty we owe to one another. Thank you.
Thank you.